This thing is packed with information.
The only crime that people have in this world is when they don't have money.
It's good to come out and tell your story to the world.
The strategies and tips that you can use to change your life.
Be a part of this amazing group of people, man. 10X is strong.
I grew up poor, but I have poor dreams. And I'm still dreaming today, and I'm never satisfied.
I'm only living off a quarter of my financial gain.
Are you ready? Are you ready to 10X?
You want bigger, you want better. There's nothing wrong with that. Get it.
Thank you. God bless you. 10X everything.
Hey everybody, welcome to 10X Automotive Weekly. My name is Jeff Bounds, and we're bringing to you every single Friday at 10 a.m. some impactful takeaway points that you guys can take back to the dealership and take your business to the next level. So what we're going to be talking about today is measuring your success on the phone. And you know, we have 4 days left until 2020. And if you had one objective that you want to accomplish in the new year, I got to tell you, you got to be tight on your phones. We are experiencing call volume of unprecedented levels, you know, what we've had in the past 12 to 15 months in the business, just because of the fact of, you know, how much digital spend and exposure is out there in the marketplace. So what I want to ask you guys is, how do you measure your success on the phone? And if you don't have something in place today that can actually measure how many calls are coming in, of those calls, how many are connecting, how many of those calls are converted to an appointments, and then measuring your team in regards to how they perform on it, man, that's insanity, right? So I was talking to a dealer last week, and we were discussing his digital strategy and his digital spend. And I asked him, I said, how much money are you investing every single month to drive traffic inside of your dealership? And he says, about $100,000. So do the math. He's investing over $1 million a year to get the phone to ring or the door to swing. And the problem with the phone is most of the dealers aren't even connecting more than 50% of their calls. What does that mean? So if you have a call to action on a digital ad through social media or Google or what have you, and there's a click to call and the consumer is calling that number, how do you know if it's reaching the intended recipient? Because the reality is most of the time it's not. Here's some industry statistics for you just to put this in perspective. 51% of connected calls didn't obtain the customer info. 80% of phone leads are never entered into the CRM. 28% of calls are abandoned. So an analogy for that is taking that $1 million that you just invested to get traffic inside of your dealership, lighting it on fire and throwing it out of the window. Because these consumers are not even getting to the person that they need to talk to. And you don't know this is happening. Another example of this is I was in a store a while back and I was talking to the dealer principal, the general manager, general sales manager. I said, let me ask you guys a question. Let's just be real. Would you say it's fair to admit that at least 8% of your deals are lost every single month because of lack of proper process and engagement with your team? And they all looked at each other and they're like, man, that's not even close. I said, really? I said, what do you think the number would be? And they said probably close to 15 or 20%. So do the math on that. If you average, $1,500, $2,000 a copy, whatever you're averaging at your dealership, do the math on that and think about the impact that that's making by not having your phones locked down. So with that being said, here at Cardone Enterprises, we've built a $150 million business purely by picking up the phone. So we feel like this is so important that on January 20th and 21st, here in Miami at our 10X headquarters, we're having our Phone Mastery 2-day deep dive. Johnny, if you could put that up on the screen so everybody can see that. I'm gonna walk through it a little bit. So it's a 2-day deep dive. It's on January 20th and 21st. And we're gonna show you the exact tactics and strategies that we use here at Cardone Enterprises to take our business to the next level and what we've done to create a $150 million business. Now, the one thing I want to say about this workshop is it's not like you're just going to sit in there for 2 days and listen to somebody lecturing you on the phones or strategies or theory or whatever. There is going to be education, but we're also going to show you how it's done. We're going to actually ask you to bring your leads, your CRM, your prospect list, your customers, whatever, and we're going to call your customers live. Our leadership team here at Cardone Enterprises are going to engage with you. We're going to help teach you the tactics to convert these deals, with the end goal of a sold car deal or, whatever you're coming in here for. We're going to help you be able to transition that and sell more product inside of your business. So I definitely wanted to remind you about that. January 20th and 21st here at 10X headquarters, and it's going to be kick-ass. So with that being said, talking about the phone and measuring things, 92% of customer interactions are happening over the phone. So if you didn't think that the phone was impactful, it's 92%. Now here's what blows my mind. 85% of the consumers say they have an awful experience. So if you don't have your phone game tight, especially in 2019 going into 2020, people don't have the patience anymore to give you a second chance, right? I mean, they're making a call, they're trying to get information. Grant's been talking about give as much information as possible, information overload for 20 years. And we're still missing the bar on that. We're not giving the customers what they need to feel the comfort level to come in and do business with you. Because at the end of the day, everybody has a choice. So you got to differentiate yourself in the experience that you give to the customer to get to that next level. And that next level and the main intention for the call is to set an appointment. And the crazy thing about that is, I spent 2.5 years listening to phone calls. So I was actually a VP of sales for a call tracking company, and I worked for another company that was involved in AI, machine-based learning, and we analyzed about 2.5 million calls. And the things that I would hear and I would see on a daily basis literally blew my mind. I mean, the basics of the car business were being missed. First and foremost, there was people that were answering the phone that weren't even introducing themselves. They're just like, hello, thank you for calling. No name, no introduction, nothing. Then They weren't asking them, hey, why are you calling today? What brings you in today? How can I help you? They weren't even asking that. They're just going into like, yeah, hi, this is Jeff from Joe Blow Ford. How can I help? They weren't getting like into the specifics of, hey, what can I get you information on? And that's one of the things that we're going to teach you in our phone workshop is the strategy of the call. You got to do the proper greeting, and then you roll right into, hey, what can I get you information on? You got to make the customer feel like you're going to give them what they need to do business with you, right? And you got to have the proper attitude to get this going. So you got to believe when you answer the phone or you make that call that you're going to sell that customer. You got to have that belief inside of you. You got to have the certainty, because the challenge with the phone versus like face-to-face is you don't have the body language. You don't have the other engagement points that you have sitting in front of somebody. So everything is based off the tonality and, your engagement on the phone, right? So you got to be able to provide ironclad information. You got to be confident. You got to know what's going on. You got to know your inventory. You got to know your lease specials and things like that to make sure that the customer gets a good experience. So with that being said, inside of Cardone On Demand, and many of you probably are already on our platform, we just popped it up on the screen here, we have a ton of information on the phones. And if you look there on the screen, you're only going to have a certain amount of calls or objections or points that you have to address. And there they are. You got the advertisement call, you had the appraisal call, you had the financing call, you had the price inquiry. You got to know how to handle all of these calls and get to the point where when that call happens, you can transition it to get to the next level. And that's one of the things that a lot of people miss. If you can't get the customer to engage and go to the next level to set the appointment, then it's like, you're missing the bar there, because the whole purpose is to get the appointment. Many people try to sell the car over the phone. You got to sell yourself, you got to sell the dealership, and you got to get them in. So in the parts of the call, there is a strategy around this. And this is one of the things that we're going to be talking about over these 2 days. You got to have the proper greeting, right? You got to greet them right. You got to have a reason for the call, and you got to have a big claim, right? So if you're at a dealership, your big claim could be, hey, we just opened up, a brand new 70,000 foot facility here. We have a coffee bar, we have breakfast, we have loaners. Sell them why they want to come to your dealer. Sell what's unique about you. Maybe it's your value proposition as your dealer group. Why do they want to do business with you? You got to sell that. Then you got to qualify the call. You got to find out, hey, what's the reason for the call? What can I get you information on? What are you currently driving? Where are you in the process? And get them, ironed out so you can go to the next level, and that's to set the appointment. Now, when you set the appointment, this is something else too that really blew my mind, because in a lot of BDCs, internet call centers, we're asking for the appointment, but we're not locking down the appointment, right? So they're like, hey, when can you come in? Oh, I'll come in tomorrow. Okay, great, I'll see you then. Ask for Jeff. I hear that all the time. You got to say, hey, look, man, I want you to come in. I'm going to have the car pulled up for you. I'm going to be available tomorrow at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock. What time works best for you? 2 o'clock. Well, let me ask you this question. Is there any reason why you wouldn't be able to make that 2 o'clock appointment? And they're like, well, yeah, actually, I might be running tight because I got a meeting at 3. Okay, great. What time works? What time do you feel 100% certain you can make it in? And you got to lock it down, because the customers are just going to tell you whatever you want to hear to get you off the phone. So you got to lock down that appointment hard and make sure that you engage on it. And you got to nail the first 20 seconds of the call. Because when you answer the phone and somebody's having a conversation with you, they're already determining in the beginning of that call, hey, do I want to do business with this person? Do I like how they greeted me? Do I like, the information that they're providing? Do I feel comfortable of making the drive? Because I think we would all agree that, in today's times, just to get in the car and go 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 miles could take an hour, hour 25 minutes. We don't have the time for that. So we want to make sure that our time is invested wisely, and we're going to go to some place where we're going to get a good experience. You also need to know how many calls do you need to make to generate the type of income that you want. So if you're in a BDC and you're back there and you're getting paid on shows and solds, how many calls do you need to make to get shows? Of the customers that show, how many are you selling? And you got to know the numbers, because you got to make more calls, because it's all about massive action, taking things to 10x levels, and being able to drive up the phone volume inside of your dealership. So here's some other statistics for you. I think these are interesting. What happens when you answer the call? 7% of the callers hung up while on hold. At a lot of the dealerships today, and this drives me insane, is that they don't have a live person answering the call. You call in, they're like, hey, press 1 if you want service, press 2 if you want sales, you press 2, then it'll go, it'll hop to the receptionist or it'll hop to another call tracking line, and it might take 20 or 30 seconds just for somebody to answer the phone. And when they answer the phone, they're gonna ask you the same question, hey, how can I help you today? I wanna speak to somebody in sales, and people just get frustrated and hang up. If you call our offices here, we will answer the phone in 2 rings with a live agent. 2 rings. That's our policy here. If it rings more than 2 times, you're in trouble. So 2 times we're going to answer the phone. You got to provide that experience to the customer where they're going to say, hey man, I really want to do business with them. That they're on their game. They got a tight game. And then 8% of callers left voicemail. And this is insane in 2019, right? It's like you're spending all this money, you develop BDCs, you invested all the money to have staff inside of the dealership, and people are hitting the voicemail. Why is that a problem? Look at your voicemail system. How many of your voicemails don't even have a proper greeting? They have the wrong person's name on that voicemail, or the voicemail box is full. So a customer calls, they ask for a salesperson, it gets transferred to sales, it goes to a voicemail, and they can't leave a message. What do you think is going to happen? They're going to call the next dealer. So, 10% of the callers hang up because they get frustrated because you're not answering their questions. The key component is to leverage active listening. So when you're asking the questions, you got to sit back and listen to what the customers are saying, because they're going to tell you everything you need to know to be able to set that appointment and in the end result sell a car. But you got to find out where they are. Everybody's going to have different reasons as to why they would come into the dealership or why they would buy that car. You got to know that information. So some KPIs, key performance indicators that you want to measure are: look at your team, whether you have a cradle to grave internet department, your calls go to your sales team, or you have a BDC. You need to measure the call flow of how many calls are coming in to those recipients and what their conversion ratio is to appointments. Because look, you want to have your best players on the field, and you want to ensure that whoever is going to do the best job of converting that appointment is going to get the largest amount of calls. And then you got to see what is your true appointment set rate. I mean, we talked about in the beginning, first and foremost, the key foundation is you got to connect the calls, right? You got to get additional swings of the bat. So if you can get your call connection tight and get, more swings of the bat, your people are going to make more appointments. So imagine the impact that, most dealers, if they're really strong, maybe they'll, convert 50 to 55% of their calls into appointments. But imagine you're sitting right now at 40%. If you do know the number, you're sitting at 40% and you can have a 10% lift. That's going to make a huge impact, because now you're getting more people into the dealership. And I guarantee you today, everybody that's going to come into your dealership, it's going to be all hands on deck. You're going to make sure you have a manager intervention. You guys are going to sell cars. You just got to get them there. And you're going to start by doing that by making sure that you're getting the calls. You also got to measure, connections. You got to measure how many of your people that are doing outbound calling are actually talking to somebody. Because a lot of the metrics that people measure are, hey, how many dials? Well, sometimes salespeople will take the path of least resistance. They'll be on a click-to-call system, and they'll just start hitting buttons because they want to have their numbers go up. But if you're not measuring talk time and if you're not measuring connections, you're missing the bar on what your productivity is. Because at the end of the day, if your people aren't talking to somebody, then they're not moving to the next level. So we measure here not only connections, but we actually measure talk time, and we have a baseline for what success looks like there to be able to determine how to get to the next level. So some best practices, on the phones is, again, answer the caller's questions and give them information. It's all about give. Hey, if they call and say, hey, I saw this, car, you had a great lease payment. Yep, we got the lease payment. We also got this. We got a special interest rate. We also have a certified pre-owned that we just got in that I want you to be able to take a look at as well. It's called information overload. Give them as much information as possible to make them want to come in and see you. Differentiate yourself on the call. We already talked about that. I can't emphasize that enough. You got to make sure that you provide a different level of experience than everybody else that they call. And I guarantee you, in the car business, That's not hard to do because a lot of people just don't have their head in the game. So if you got your game tight, you answer the phone right, you treat the customer with a good experience, they're going to come in and do business with you. Be energetic. I mean, the thing that I always try to instill is anytime that I pick up the phone and talk to somebody, they got to get my A game. They got to get 100% for me. They deserve that. Like the customer doesn't know, hey, I just got through calling 50 or 60 people. You know, I had a guy that just, told me he wasn't going to do the deal. This guy was, squeezing me on price. Doesn't matter because the next call will be your next deal. So you got to treat them right. You got to give them the experience that they're going to need and they're going to want to do business with you. And that's essential. And then the other thing is use scripts. For God's sake, use scripts. Don't wing it. Because if you're not prepared on the call, then you're not going to listen. Because you're thinking about, what am I going to say? What am I going to say next? What if they say this? What if they say that? That's why training is so important, daily training. Now, if you want to see the impact of how important Grant thinks phones are, this is just our training material on incoming calls. All this information here. So if you have Cardone on Demand, all this is inside of the platform. We're going to be going through a lot of this in our event on the 20th and 21st. There's a lot of information. It would take you over a year to really master all of the techniques inside of this. Because look, at the end of the day, practice makes perfect, and you have to get to the point where you can predict. When somebody calls in, you know what's going to happen. What's your best deal? What are you going to give me for my trade? I'm not going to give you any more information. Give me your best price. You're going to get these every single day, and you got to know how to handle them. And the first rule is you got to always agree with the customer. Be positive. Don't let them affect you or anything. Just go into that interaction like, hey, I totally understand you want the best price. I'll be more than happy to get you the best price. Let me get your cell phone number. I'll actually text you best price, lease payment, finance rates, whatever we have, and you transition into getting information. You got to give information to get information. You got to hold that as a number one goal and objective for what you're doing. So look, there's a lot of things to cover on the phone, and you got to be able to measure them. So I am a firm believer that you need to have a call monitoring system inside of your dealership. There's a lot of great ones out there in the marketplace. They're all vastly different. So if you want to find out a good one to use or to get some feedback, you can email me at jeff@grantcardone.com, and I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you. If you're on the Cardone On Demand platform, good for you. Go into the Internet and BDC section inside of Cardone On Demand and start drilling through that information. You need to be role-playing with your team every single day because, look, you want to practice on your peers, not on your prospects. So you need to do that every single day. And then also, if you really want to get to the next level and you want to get that level of learning that's going to take you to the next level, it isn't going to happen overnight. It's daily training. Get on Cardone On Demand. Come down here to Miami on the 20th and 21st to our phone workshop. And if you use the combination of that, I guarantee you're going to get to the next level. So we just had an event, I think it was like a week ago. Time goes so fast sometimes I lose track of time. Anna, was it a week ago, the event, the 10X Academy? Or was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah, it was a week and a half ago. And I just got a text message yesterday from one of our attendees, and he said, hey, Jeff, man, I really appreciated the information you guys provided, and I appreciated the attention that you gave us. And there's a picture there on the screen. Actually, Grant was present at the 10X Academy and spent about 3 hours going through this with we had 100 people in the room. So he was giving everybody individual attention. We were, drilling, having them bring up challenges that they were having, and we were giving them solutions. So this gentleman came to our workshop, and 6 days after he attended, he sold an additional 3 cars in those 6 days by leveraging the tactics. And because of his attitude and because of the swagger that he had going back inside of the dealership, he was offered a position to get promoted to F&I manager. So inside of automotive retail today, the one thing that I see is, a lot of times we forget to talk about the opportunity. And there is a ton of opportunity there for you inside of the dealership. I know people that started off as a lot porter and ended up being the owner of a dealership. So everybody has that opportunity to be able to get to the next level, to create the skills that you need, not only to take you as far as you want to go in automotive, but anywhere in your life. But it all starts on the phone. So I hope everybody enjoyed this session, and feel free to email me, jeff@grantcardone.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions for you. Have a great day.
doing with your life as we walk out of 2019 and in.
This is what $7 million looks like. Finally, I feel like I'm doing something equivalent to what I'm supposed to do. You got 3 days. This thing is packed with information.
The only crime that people have in this world is when they don't have money.
It's good to come out and tell your story to the world.
The strategies and tips that you can use to change your life.
Be a part of this amazing group of people, man. 10X is strong.
I grew up poor, but I have poor dreams. And I'm still dreaming today. And I'm never satisfied.
I'm only living off a quarter of my financial gain.
Are you ready? Are you ready to 10X?
You want bigger, you want better, and there's nothing wrong with that. Get it.
Thank you. God bless you. 10X everything.